hard-working man can make a difference. Gray Davis for controller.
Spend election night with a real winner. Rocky, complete and uncut. Tuesday at 7:30 on KTLA, Channel 5.
So to me, he's a great man and a great actor.
Tonight on News at 10. Hollywood pays last respects to character actor Forrest Tucker. A shopping center is evacuated after a toxic spill. The lines are forming for holiday employment. 2 bombs rip through Paris buildings. A rally for Central American peace. Another victim of the South Side Slayer. Reports of possible progress in the Lebanon hostage crisis. And President Reagan campaigns for Senate hopeful Ed Schau here in Southern California.
What we've got in California's Senate race is a face-off between an unrepentant advocate of the failed policies of the past versus a champion of the opportunity society of the future.
Channel 5, News at 10. The #1 primetime news hour in Los Angeles. Now, Larry McCormick, Giselle Fernandez, Ed Arnold with Sports Page, and the entire Channel 5 news team.
Good evening. It is the first day of November in 1986, and there is growing speculation tonight that Anglican Church Representative Terry Waite may be in the midst of some top-secret hostage negotiations in Cyprus. Waite is reportedly trying to win freedom for 7 American captives in Lebanon. We have this satellite report.
Anglican Church envoy Terry Waite's whereabouts remain shrouded in mystery a day after he flew into Cyprus on a U.S. military helicopter from Beirut. Waite was whisked away to an undisclosed destination in an American embassy car, fueling speculation his year-old mission to free U.S. hostages held in Lebanon may be nearing success. Embassy personnel in Nicosia refused to comment on Waite's mission or when he might return to Lebanon. In the past, Waite has been in contact with the Iranian-backed Islamic Jihad organization, which claims to hold 3 of the 7 Americans missing in Lebanon. Speaking to reporters by phone, Waite said Friday things are moving, but refused to reveal further details. Expectations of a hostage release were enhanced when 24 staffers from the U.S. Embassy in Beirut arrived in Cyprus in recent days. But their move, described as a result of the deteriorating security situation in the Lebanese capital, may be unrelated. An aircraft of American registry is sitting on the tarmac at Larnaca Airport, and a U.S. Embassy van was also observed waiting. But the presence of armored cars and security forces here is standard procedure. There is a mood of intense anticipation here at the airport. Every movement on the runway brings a small army of journalists and cameramen running to see if Terry Waite has arrived with news about the hostages. But for the time being, there's no indication of when that might happen. Mike Greenspan, CNN, Larnaca, Cyprus.
Secretary of State George Shultz refused to disclose any details about possible efforts to free the hostages. Speaking here in Los Angeles this afternoon, Shultz said right now, all we can do is hope for the best.
We hope and pray that our hostages will get released. There have been a number of occasions over the past year in which we have thought, well, it's just about to happen, and then it hasn't. So what we will do is we will work, we will hope, we will pray, but we won't believe they're out until they're out and here.
Relatives of the hostage Americans are also taking a cautious and tight-lipped approach to the new optimistic round of reports. We have that part of the story from correspondent Mike Sommers.
When freedom came for American hostages Martin Jenko, Benjamin Weir, and Jerry Levin, it came without warning. So the families of those still held have learned to be skeptical when word comes of a possible breakthrough.
Many times the radio reports come in early and they are over-optimistic. So I think that what we would go on would be just to sit tight and wait and see what happens. But it is a very hopeful sign.
Frank Reed is one of the most recent captives, nabbed September 9th in West Beirut. He was a director of the Lebanese International School there. For his family in Massachusetts, this is the first good news.
A thrill went through me when I heard the word. I said, can it be possible? You know, can the news be that good? Even if my son's not among them, I'm very, very thankful that something has changed the thinking of the people that are holding them. That's what we have to think about.
But very few others are talking. Peggy Say has been one of the most vocal critics of the administration's handling of the hostage problem. But now she says she won't comment until her brother, Terry Anderson, is released. He's been held for more than a year and a half. Meanwhile, in Anderson's hometown of Batavia, New York, the yellow ribbons put out to remember him are fading, but not hope.
Whenever we see anyone working at the situation as hard as Mr. Waite has and others, that gives us hope and it gives us support.
Mike Summers, CNN reporting.
Locally, a small shopping center in Sun Valley is back to normal now, but earlier a toxic chemical spill forced the evacuation of 7 stores. A dry cleaning solvent was spilled at Crown Cleaners. 2 employees suffered eye and skin irritation. LA City firefighters and the hazardous materials team rushed to the scene at the 8600 block of Foothill Boulevard. A fire official explains what happened.
They were cleaning taking the filters out. They have to be cleaned every so often, and while they were doing it, one of the employees spilled some on himself, and that's where it started.
The 2 injured employees were briefly hospitalized for treatment, and they were later released. And in Carson, police are investigating the death of a nude black woman found outside in a remote industrial area. Officials say the woman was beaten to death with a blunt object. Investigators believe that this murder could have been linked to the Southside serial killings, but that possibility has since been ruled out. The 26-year-old victim from Long Beach has been identified, but her name cannot be released until relatives are notified. The exact cause of death will be determined after an autopsy is performed.
In Valencia, police arrested a doctor and a midwife in connection with the deaths of 5 newborn infants who were delivered at the doctor's clinic. 46-year-old Dr. Milos Calvana and 32-year-old Dolores Doyle were arrested at their homes following a 2-year investigation. Officials say the 5 infant deaths were due to medical malpractice.
Apparently it was a midwife-type operation in regard to the delivery of babies. Couples would come to him and request midwife-type deliveries as opposed to hospitalization. There had been indications that he had not provided adequate medical care in regard to the deliveries.
The charges against Calvana and Doyle will be filed on Monday and will include murder, manslaughter, insurance fraud, and grand theft.
Friends and relatives of the late actor Forrest Tucker gathered today to honor and remember him at a memorial service. Pam Thompson reports from Forest Lawn Memorial Park.
For many Americans, Forrest Tucker will always be remembered for his role in the television series F Troop. But in Hollywood today, he was remembered by his friends as a warm and generous man.
I remember him as a lovable, great big lovable cream puff.
I remember Tucker as a wondrous friend. Dear Tuck, he was a wondrous golfer. We were both in love with the same lady on that score.
The man to me was a gentleman, always a gentleman. A wonderful family, a good place up in Arizona, lived here. But he went back to the motion picture home to die. He said, that's why I'm going to go and see all my old friends over there.
Tucker was also remembered today by President Reagan, who sent a letter expressing his sympathies. The 6'5" actor, known to his friends as Tuck, had a long career as an entertainer, first as a song and dance man, and later as a fine character actor. Forrest Tucker died of cancer at age 67. At Forest Lawn, Pam Thompson, Channel 5, News at 10.
Just ahead on News at 10 for Saturday night, Metro Rail, faced with a very smelly problem, you might say. We'll tell you about that. Thousands of people stage an anti-drug rally at Los Angeles City Hall. That story's coming up next, too. And President Reagan does some last-minute campaigning here in the Southland. Giselle and I come right back. Stay with us.
Europe is a bargain if you know where to shop. TWA gives you a jolly good bargain to London. Paris, what a bargain Paris is. Or the splendor of Rome for less than you dreamed. TWA is also a great deal to Munich. And Barcelona, the beauty of Spain for less. And Geneva is a terrific bargain too. So call your travel agent for today's TWA.
Find out how good we really are.
Well, the thing is, lots of financial institutions will tell you how big and how safe they are. We think our customers deserve a lot more than just a safe place to put their money. One thing they deserve, for example, is having higher interest rates on higher balances. At California Federal, we came up with an account that does just that, and it's called tiered savings, keeping our customers' money safe and giving them a good return on their dollar. That's what CalFed means when it talks about well-managed money.
Broadway's longest-running hit, A Chorus Line, plays October 17th through November 2nd at Plummer Auditorium in Fullerton. For tickets, call Fullerton Civic Light Opera.
President Reagan tonight called on California voters to elect Ed Schau over incumbent Democratic Senator Alan Cranston. In a final campaign effort to push Schau over the top in Tuesday's election, the president told cheering Orange County Republicans at Anaheim why he believes Schau should be the clear choice.
Here in California, we're lucky to have a standard bearer who personifies enterprise and creativity, a candidate who young people can identify with, and who can lead this party in our country into the 21st century. You guessed already I'm talking about Ed Schau. And
President Reagan said he is especially grateful to Republicans in Orange County for providing such a wide margin of victory in his own past elections. He said he hoped they would do the same one more time on behalf of Ed Schau. In his weekly radio address today, President Reagan focused on Soviet-American relations. Mr. Reagan specifically expressed high hopes for next week's meeting in Vienna between Secretary of State George Shultz and Soviet Foreign Minister Eduard Shevardnadze. In his speech broadcast live from here in Los Angeles, the president said he hopes to improve on the progress of his recent summit in Iceland with Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev. But the president warned he will continue to insist on the development of the Star Wars Defensive System, or SDI. In the Democratic response this week, Iowa Senator Tom Harkin issued a call to turn out and vote in this Tuesday's election.
This election is about saving the middle class in America. But Republicans would rather not discuss this. They want you to give them a blank check to be a rubber-stamped Senate for another 6 years. 6 more years of sending our jobs overseas, driving our farm families off the land, and devastating millions of families who work in timber, mining, oil, and textiles.
Senator Harkin called this election, we quote here, a chance to make a difference and send a message that you want the government to start fighting for you. Giselle?
4,000 former drug addicts and their families took part in a downtown Los Angeles rally today. The message, there is a way out of drug addiction. The event was organized by Victory Outreach, a Christian organization with an 18-year history of helping addicts. Founder Sonny Arguizzoni says prayer can make all the difference.
Myself, I was a heroin addict from the streets of New York City. I was on heroin for over 6 years, in and out of all the prisons. And one day I was totally delivered from heroin. There is a solution through Jesus Christ. Not religion, but a personal experience with Christ.
Arguizzoni says laws and education aren't enough to solve the drug problem. At heart, it's a spiritual matter, he says. Since 1967, Victory Outreach has grown from a small church in La Puente to more than 100 centers in the United States and abroad. And Metro Rail subway workers have unearthed foul-smelling groundwater near Union Station that could delay construction and add millions in unexpected cleanup costs. A high concentration of hydrogen sulfide makes the water smell like rotten eggs, even though it's not a health hazard. There were plans to pump 20 million gallons of that water into the Los Angeles River, but the operation has been shut down over complaints about the odor. The RTD is studying the problem, but no decision is expected at least until January, and some cleanup estimates run as high as $33 million.
Not too very far from there, thousands of demonstrators turned out in front of City Hall today to protest current Reagan administration policies in Central America. As Pam Thompson reports, the group vehemently opposes aid and training for the Nicaraguan Contras.
They sang Vietnam protest songs and said, "Don't let Central America be another Vietnam."
The American people oppose the policies of the Reagan administration in Central America.
Opinion poll after opinion poll shows that over 2/3 of the people oppose aid to the Contras, oppose aid to the undemocratic governments in Central America, and yet the Reagan administration continues to increase the military involvement of the United States in Central America.
One of the rally participants recently ended a 47-day fast on the steps of the Capitol with 4 other Vietnam vets.
We know it meant something to the people in Nicaragua, and it still does. We feel that we have exploited those people both economically and militarily for a century. We owe them a tremendous debt.
Representatives from 75 Los Angeles area community organizations took part in today's rally. Besides protesting U.S. aid to the Contras in Nicaragua, they collected money for the earthquake victims in El Salvador. The groups that took part in today's rally plan to continue their protest by pressuring Congress on the issue of aid to the Contras. They also may organize another large-scale rally like today's for next spring. The point, they say, is to keep this issue alive. In downtown Los Angeles, Pam Thompson, Channel 5, News at 10.
There's more student rioting in South Korea tonight. Captured American Eugene Hassenfuss makes his second court appearance in Nicaragua. And 2 separate terrorist bombings rocked the city of Paris. We're right back after this brief break.
AirCal 737 executive class service versus the airline that wants you to catch their smile. Only AirCal gives you first-class legroom and continental breakfast complete with a morning newspaper and a variety of superior snacks. Even telephone service and premium wines by the glass are available. And AirCal's executive class service doesn't cost 1 penny more. The airline that will really leave you smiling is AirCal. We make flying easy.
Now, 2 outfits that competed neck and neck to serve Californians team up to create the largest network of 24-hour automated teller machines in the state. Over 1,100 Crocker and Wells Fargo ATMs. Each one accepts either your Crocker or your Wells Fargo bank card. So for the most convenient 24-hour banking in California, open an account at any Crocker or Wells Fargo bank.
Do I have a VCR? Boy, do I have a VCR. I bought this one, but it didn't have remote control. So I bought this one. But the salesman didn't tell me about slow motion. And then I got one in stereo, but it wasn't broadcast.
At Circuit City, our professional sales counselors are trained to ask the right questions, give the right advice, and make sure you get the product that's right for you.
Then I decided to buy a video camera. I should have gone to Circuit City.
Circuit City, the intelligent choice.
Election night at 7:30 on Channel 5. Complete and uncut. The movie that created an American hero. The heavyweight champ of them all.
Wish me luck, I'm gonna need it.
3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Spend election night with a real winner. The original and still the best. Rocky, Tuesday at 7:30 on Channel 5.
In Paris today, 2 bombs exploded within minutes of each other and caused severe damage to an immigration office and an air charter company. The first blast happened at the Minerve Air Company. The second explosion blew out the facade and windows of the National Immigration Office. A French terrorist group called Direct Action claimed responsibility for both bombings. The group said it was protesting the recent deportation of about 100 illegal immigrants from Mali. Here in the United States, the Justice Department is investigating whether Philippines Defense Minister Juan Enrile has diverted American aid funds to his personal use. Federal agents are tracking down money that reportedly may have been laundered in San Francisco by Enrile or his wife. The suspicion was prompted by a series of real estate transactions in San Francisco involving Enrile's wife, Christina. Larry?
And Giselle, in the Philippines tonight, an olive branch of peace has been offered by the communist rebels. They proposed a 100-day ceasefire beginning December 10th. The National Democratic Front, a group representing the rebels, met with a government panel today to discuss that proposal. The ceasefire offer comes with certain conditions, including the disarming of private armies which are helping the government in the fight against the communists. This has been a bone of contention between Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile and President Aquino. President Corazon Aquino has not yet responded to the ceasefire proposal. A Contra leader is offering to swap 30 Sandinista prisoners for captured American Eugene Hassenfuss and 5 others who are currently in Nicaraguan jails. but Nicaraguan officials refuse to deal with the rebels. The spokesman says the government will only negotiate with the United States and not with the Contras. The opposition leader says he will ask an unidentified third nation to help with the proposed prison swap. In his second court appearance in 2 days, Hasenfuss today listened to a Sandinista soldier tell how he shot down his plane last month. That soldier testified he shot the American supply plane carrying arms to the Contra rebels. The government soldier says he found Hasenfuss hiding in a shack, but that Hasenfuss did not resist arrest. Hasenfuss faces up to 30 years in prison if he is convicted of terrorism and other charges against the Nicaraguan government.
In South Korea, campus violence has erupted again in Seoul. University protesters clashed with riot police today. The demonstrators were protesting the arrest of 1,500 student dissidents. Although there were no injuries or arrests in today's outbreak of violence, students threw firebombs at police during a riot yesterday. Officials say at least 86 policemen were injured in melee. 49 students had to be treated for minor injuries as well. This rioting has been going on in the South Korean capital for several weeks now.
And when we come back in just a moment now, it was not all fun and games on Halloween. A tragic death Halloween night at Universal Studios tour. We'll tell you about that.
And the winds are tapering off, and if you want to make a little extra money, maybe moving to Alaska is the answer. We'll tell you why. Stay with us.
I can go on.
Oh, allow me. If I put this on my Bank AmeriCard, I'll have enough bonus points to get the free crystal.
No. Allow me. Now I'll have enough bonus points for the free Apple computer.
Please, I'd like to get it.
No, I insist.
Bonus points, that free Hawaiian vacation.
I'll tell you what, folks, the treat's on me.
Bank AmeriCard. Why use any other card? No other bank card offers you so much. Look for your application in the mail.
Oh,
a nice and soft moment.
My baby, do you want the moon to play with, or the stars to run away with? They'll come if you don't cry.
There's a special softness in nice and soft bathroom tissue, especially for you.
Long-distance phone calls usually sound something like this. No more, because now there's the fiber optic sound quality of U.S. Sprint that uses the same digital technology as the compact disc, so that every fiber optic call sounds like you're right next door. Call now, find out more, and save with America's largest fiber optic long-distance company, U.S. Sprint.
Circuit City has so many wonderful electronic things all under one roof, it's hard not to get distracted.
I'm here to buy a calculator, and that's all. Oh, no browsing, no touching.
Circuit City can really test your self-control.
Very nice. But it's not a calculator. It's not a calculator.
The most up-to-date selection of brand names, all at Circuit City's guaranteed low prices.
So how could I resist?
Circuit City, the intelligent choice.
This portion of News at 10 is brought to you by Lewis Rich and the whole family of Lewis Rich turkey products.
Some tragedy on Halloween night. A 20-year-old employee was killed last night while working at Universal Studios' special Halloween show. Authorities say Paul Ribaldi of Woodland Hills was run over and dragged by a tram while performing with mannequins covered in fake blood. Ironically, the screams and the gore in the show itself apparently camouflaged Ribaldi's own condition. He was pronounced dead at the scene around 9 o'clock, and that part of the tour was immediately closed. In Detroit, fire officials say the number of Devil's Night arson fires has dropped considerably this year compared to previous years. 360 fires have been set during the annual Halloween arson spree, but this is an improvement over last year, in which 479 fires were set. Officials praise the efforts of 11,000 city workers and volunteers who helped enforce a dusk-to-dawn curfew, primarily to stop juveniles. Here in Southern California, there's been wind. Wind brings in all kinds of things, and for people with allergies, that's bad news.
It sure is. One good thing, it takes away the fog and the haze, but to every rose there's a thorn.
I wonder if I'd rather have the fog and haze and not the stuff blown in by the wind and be sneezing and all that kind of stuff.
That's true. I tell you, I suffered tremendously from them. I feel for you if you do, too. This was a wonderful way, though, to start November. It blew in with strong Santa Anas and clear sunny skies, a perfect fall day other than the windy allergy conditions. And this weekend, it's only going to get better without the winds. First, take a look at the high downtown today, 81 warm degrees. The low was 52, crystal clear. You could have touched the mountains. It was so clear. So, the ocean, you could see the ocean from Griffith Park. That's how clear it was, as a matter of fact. On the map, no major change for the next few days. The 35-mile-an-hour gusts of winds that blew you over today are now dying down tonight, and a high-pressure ridge will warm temperatures slightly as it strengthens along the coast. Take a look at these warm fall highs in the inland valleys tomorrow. Your Sunday looks like summer revisited. Highs mostly in the 80s. Take a look at those highs for this time of year with Thanksgiving just around the corner. Clear crystal skies, lighter winds, a beautiful day ahead. The same is true along the coast. The water will be sparkling at 65 degrees. Highs there in the upper 70s in some spots and in others in the 80s. You can't beat the surfing conditions there either. This is a good time to get on out. The swells tomorrow will be increasing 3 to 4 feet. Whipping gales in the deserts, highs there still in the upper 70s. Overnight lows in the mountains bitingly cold, reminding us, well, that winter's not too far away. So for the second day of November, it's warming up again, clear and bright and wonderful. Air quality for most of the South Basin, though, will be in the unhealthful range, particularly on the areas on your screen. Okay, that brings us now to a drive down a country road in Waits River, Vermont. Look at all the fall colors in the trees. It's wonderful. This reminds us of all the simple beauties this time of year. Thanks so much to my producer, Marta, for pointing this slide out, and to Dave James for sending it on in. He's from Lakewood. I hope this will inspire you to send your slides in to KTLA News at 10, P.O. Box 500, Los Angeles, 90078. It's a lot different from Los Angeles, isn't it?
I should say so.
Beautiful, quaint towns. I just love them. Okay, enjoy your Sunday. Remember that November is typically the rainy season in Southern California, but the hot spells in November are hot. Looks like we're in for one of those this weekend. Enjoy. Larry?
Down in New England, this is the time of the year to be there, when the leaves are turning red and yellow and all those wonderful colors.
The crunchable colors.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, speaking of weather, the colder winter-type weather may be already chilling the residents of Alaska, but in many ways, they're a little bit warmer than we are. Now, Alaskans, to begin with, pay no state income tax. They pay no sales tax, and they are now receiving sizable checks in the mail from the state government. Well, Terrence O'Malley explains why.
This year, every man, woman, and child who's lived in Alaska for at least 6 months will receive more than $550 from the state government. The Permanent Fund Dividend Program, begun in 1982, is Alaska's way of rewarding residents for living here.
You're talking about areas of Alaska where, you know, there's never been any plumbing. Areas where the winters are absolutely horrible, where people have had to put up with a lot to remain a resident of Alaska. And they wanted to reward this. And they also wanted to find a way to encourage Alaska residents to remain Alaska residents and not move outside the state.
Critics of the program contend the state could put that money to better use. Close to $300 million will go directly into the pockets of Alaska's citizens this year. As you might imagine, the dividend program is extremely popular and closely guarded by Alaskans. The general sentiment here is that Alaska residents know how to spend that money just as well as the state legislature does.
I think it's kind of a treat to get a little dividend check as our cut of the oil money.
I feel that the citizens should have the right to decide what goes on with the permanent fund, not the state legislator.
The checks are now in the mail and will be for the next 6 weeks, over 500,000 of them. Terrence O'Malley for CNN in Juneau, Alaska.
Much more ahead here for Saturday night on News at 10. A former porn star sends out a public appeal for medical help.
And a disturbing new study about AIDS is released. We'll tell you about that. And the holidays are just around the corner, and so is the line for jobs at the post office already. We're right back in just a moment.
If you could combine the world's best cars into one car, you'd want the best gasoline. Chevron unleaded gasolines with the high-tech Tetraline additive. The best at cleaning not just fuel injectors, complete intake systems. Chevron with Tetraline. Now you can drive the best, no matter what car you drive. Is one gasoline really the best?
Stretch and reach for Lewis Rich cold cuts. And up, this is my kind of workout. Piling up delicious Louis Rich cold cuts. Salami, smoked turkey, bologna, and more. All made from naturally lean turkey. They're up to 95% fat-free. Back and forth, and they're full of flavor. Because Louis Rich seasons them just the way I like them. So luscious and so light. It took Louis Rich to make turkey so right. Lift and bite.
Burger King knows how hard you work for your money. So right now, the King Combo is just $2.49. A medium Pepsi, large fries, and a juicy plain broiled Whopper. All for just $2.49. Hurry into Burger King now for the $2.49 King Combo.
This is a Burger King town.
After all, labor should have its reward.
We know how burgers should be.
Hey, did you ever fly one of those airlines, no frills? I did. Oh, forget about it. Well, there was no place for my bag. They said put it under your seat. There was a guy sitting there. Oh, I tell you, no frills was right. I ordered leg of lamb. I couldn't get past the wolf. Now I fly Western. It don't cost any more, and they treat you like you're somebody. Even if you're nobody.
Western Airlines to 68 cities is the only way to fly.
This is KTLA Channel 5, Tribune Broadcasting in Los Angeles.
Believe it or not, it's that time of year again, and this was the day to sign up for temporary Christmas season jobs at the Los Angeles Post Office. Pam Thompson reports on today's huge turnout of job seekers at the Terminal Annex in downtown L.A.
They were lined up around the block and down the street today in downtown Los Angeles. Thousands of people were applying for Christmas jobs at the U.S. Post Office Terminal Annex. 21 days of work, $5 an hour.
I come to apply for the Christmas help working for the post office.
The pay is better than where I'm working now.
And hopefully it'll lead into a full-time job.
Post office officials were pleased with the turnout.
Unlike last year, we called in the same amount of people, and we had to have additional 2 Saturdays just to hire people because no one showed up. This year, we have a new list of people who have just recently taken the test in June, and we thought that they would still be anxious and they would show up. And apparently they have shown up today.
The post office uses the Christmas hiring period as a testing ground for employees. Williams says the new workers are watched carefully. Then, when full-time employees are needed, they are chosen from the pool of temporary help. They will be hiring 1,300 people altogether. The first group will begin work on November 29th, the second group on December 10th. And for many of those people, it may be the beginning of a career with the post office. In downtown Los Angeles, Pam Thompson, Channel 5, News at 10.
In New York, a former pornographic film star is very sick tonight and is facing a $200,000 medical bill. Linda Lovelace is suffering from a life-threatening liver illness along with breast cancer. Lovelace said her cancer may have been caused by silicone injections she took 15 years ago to enlarge her breasts. She said she will die if she doesn't have a liver transplant within 4 to 8 months. Lovelace is now married with 2 children. She is also an ardent anti-pornography crusader. Larry?
Well, you know, Giselle, in many people's minds, I guess the AIDS epidemic is largely associated with gay, white, middle-class men. But according to figures from the Minority AIDS Project, AIDS is hitting black and Latino minorities in unexpectedly high numbers. In fact, minorities are now said to account for 30% of AIDS victims in Los Angeles.
Now we know that 60% of all the children with AIDS are black children and 20-some% Latino. Now we know that 51% of the women with AIDS are black women.
In social settings often depicted as super macho, the stigma of AIDS can cause patients to delay seeking help until it's just about too late. According to the AIDS caseworkers, minority AIDS patients have only 1/4 the survival rate after they have been diagnosed as their white counterparts. On the distinctly lighter side, in Northern Virginia, industrial and residential developments are threatening a traditional sport, the fox hunt, which has been going on there for decades. The fox hunt was started by George Washington and his friends. And members of the Fairfax Hunt Association carried on that sport right up to modern times. Now, the hunters gather every weekend in the fall with a pack of enthusiastic hounds charging across miles of hills and meadows. Although they haven't found a single fox in years, the spirit of tally-ho seems to spur them on. Tally-ho spurs us on to Ed Arnold, who has a terrific Saturday in sports for you now. Ed?
College football, pro basketball, hockey. We have it all tonight.
And that, of course, is on the Saturday sports page. But the big story of the day was at Santa Anita for the 3rd Breeders' Cup. 7 races worth $10 million. And with 79 of the world's best thoroughbred horses running, you knew there had to be some upsets. In college football, USC played Arizona in Tucson tonight in an effort to stay in the Pac-10 race. Details coming up on page 1.
Well, the thing is, lots of financial institutions will tell you how big and how safe they are. We think our customers deserve a lot more than just a safe place to put their money. One thing they deserve, for example, is having higher interest rates on higher balances. At California Federal, we came up with an account that does just that, and it's called tiered savings, keeping our customers' money safe and giving them a good return on their dollar. That's what CalFed means when it talks about well-managed money.
Oh, a nice and soft moment.
My baby, do you want the moon to play with, or the stars to run away with? They'll come if you don't cry.
There's a special softness in nice and soft bathroom tissue, especially for you.
It's taken just 2 years for the Breeders' Cup to capture the hearts of thoroughbred aficionados everywhere, to the point that the event is now being hailed as racing's greatest day. And even Damon Runyon would have approved of today's show at Santa Anita, where the older horses made the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic a race not for the faint of heart.
But they have to catch Skywalker. He leads by 4 with the furlong to the wire. Precision is the second. Turkoman closing third. Skywalker is still there. And then it is. Precision is Turkoman with 1 late move. But it is too late.
A major upset. Skywalker got to the end of the 1.25 miles before the surging Turkoman, Lafitte Pinkai Jr., steered the 4-year-old to the upset victory. Precisionist finished 3rd. The $2 million turf featured Dancing Brave, considered to be the best horse in Europe, making his American debut and farewell to racing. But it was Manila making a final charge on the outside, who beat Theatrical and Estropad, even after jockey Jose Santos dropped his whip and finished using his hand. Manila was already considered the top male grass champion and now becomes a viable contender for the 3-year-old colt championship. Unusual place betting on the paired entry of Theatrical and Estropad explains the rare payoff. Luck was certainly a lady in the $1 million distaff, where the always impressive iron gray filly known as Lady Secret dominated the field of 7.
And they're coming to the final furlong. Lady Secret in front by 4. Friend Valentine, outstandingly, Classy Kathy, and here is a brilliant champion. Lady Secret, another flawless performance.
Lady Secret, another of trainer D. Wayne Lucas's stars, carried 123 pounds as she registered her 10th win in 15 starts. Pat Day was the winning jockey. There was a traffic jam in the stretch of the $1 million mile on grass. Sonic Lady briefly took the lead, but the